right, welcome back to Caesar Time. This is Trevor Newby here. So, this is going to be a three-part series, a three-episode series on the partaking of William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, which is the play that depicts the death of the famous Roman dictator, Julius Caesar. And predominantly, we're going to dive into the community and also the human flourishing with one character, which is one of the sub-main characters, also known as Mark Antony. So, as we get into Julius Caesar, we're going to start with Act 1, right? So we're going to get to Julius Caesar, we're going to get to Act 1, and we're introduced to Rome with a lot of, as we see in terms of community, we see like a split division between the Roman citizens and also a group that we see known as the conspirators that are led by two people called Cassius and Brutus, who are two heads of the conspirator group who basically plot to kill Caesar throughout the play. And this comes particular in what we see in Act 2 in Scene 1, where they start plotting again to kill him. The tension grows, and that in Scene 2 is when we're introduced to Mark Antony as well. So the real question is, who is Mark Antony? What is his importance? Why is he significant? And also, what is his flourishing and the community building in the Roman Empire have to do with this one particular character? So, as I said, I got my book right here, and we're going to dive deep into it. I got also notes on my computer as well. So, the biggest thing is Mark Antony is a loyal follower of Caesar. He is a loyal friend. And in Scene 2 in Act 1, we're seeing him offering a crown to Caesar, because Caesar is about to take over the throne of the Roman Empire and is about to be the Roman emperor. Basically, the new dictator of Rome. And that's where, this crown is supposed to symbolize him becoming a dictator, but also what the significance is about this is where the conspirators are born. What we see here is we see Caesar refusing to take Mark Antony's crown. And what we see in terms of the community through the Roman Empire, we see, as I said, the conspirators forming. You got Cassius and Brutus coming out, and they're all talking about, they're talking about how Caesar's power is growing in Scenes 3 and 4. And that's where we fully understand and get the full plot of going to it. And it leads, and the plot, and what him refusing the crown does is it's foreshadowing the loyalty that Mark Antony shows to Caesar later in the play as we get into Acts 3, 4, and 5 in later episodes. But the biggest thing here is we're seeing the power of Caesar grow. We're seeing him become more of a dictator and lend into this Roman Empire. And that is where tensions in the community start to grow suspicious. A lot of the Roman town citizens and a lot of the townsfolk are starting to grow weary of Caesar's power and his growing power, and are starting to see that, okay, so what is it that he's going to do when he takes the throne, when he ascends the throne? Like, is it going to be the same terrible Roman Empire that we have, or is it going to be something different, and is it going to be for the better? And this comes at a time where in the Roman Empire we're seeing a split between a government-led nation and then an empire led by a king and an emperor and a dictator. And that is where, in terms of community, like we see, in terms of the community, we're seeing a split division. We got half of the Roman townsfolk wanting to have the government along with the conspirators, but also we have that half where the empire is just a norm. It's just something that's not going to change, and it's something that's going to, be there forever. And that's something that we're seeing. So in terms of Mark Antony isn't really introduced. He isn't really talked about much in the beginning of the chapters, but when we get into Act 2, he is in the mix of the conspirators. So in terms of his flourishing, Antony is not directly into the conspiracy. He's not with Cassius and with Brutus discussing this, planning this, plotting this, but not only is he an important role in terms of being a loyal friend to Caesar, this also makes him a target. As we see, he's not in Act 2, in Scene 3, he wasn't present in the Senate convenes the day of Caesar's assassination when Caesar was killed. And that was something that was huge into it. And he became a target of suspicion. And when Brutus and Cassius plotted to do something and plotted to kill Caesar, they also wanted to kill Mark Antony as well, predominantly Cassius, because not only was he not, he wasn't a bad guy and he wasn't into it, but also he was also a loyal friend of Caesar. He was also one of Caesar's best friends. So of course there's going to be a struggle there, and of course there's going to be other people trying to not get into him. And also, it also leads to when we dive into a little bit of Act 3, predominantly in Scene 1, where Caesar is assassinated by the conspirators, by Brutus, by Cassius, and by the other senators that are within that group. He is the first concerned for his own safety. Mark Antony is. And that's where, the period in terms of flourishing, Mark is showing that loyalty to Caesar, but also showing concern for himself and wanting to protect himself. As we see in, modern literature today, we see, the model of literature is a mirror, a sliding glass door, and a mirror. So you either see yourself through it, see the future out of it, or you're walking into it. And in terms of this, we can say it as a window. We're seeing a future of, okay, Julius Caesar is dead, so what is Mark Antony going to do? What is Mark Antony going to do? Is he going to avenge Caesar? Is he going to protect himself? Is he going to try to restore what was broken in the Roman Empire? And it's a lot of questions to it. And again, in Act 3, when Caesar is assassinated, everybody is in shock. In terms of the community, everybody is in shock. Everybody is frantic. They're concerned. What is going on? They don't know why it happened. They know how it happened, but they don't know why it happened and don't know the full details of it. They don't know that, the conspirators were doing this for their own good. And later, we will see Mark Antony do something that will be a turning point in Rome and also lead to other issues, other problems with the conspirators, and also lead to what we see at the end of the play, which is a war and eventually order being restored, but for different reasons, and showing earlier tension. So in the next episode, we're going to dive deeper into the role that Mark Antony played at Caesar's funeral. We're going to talk about what he did following Caesar, how he was able to get Rome on his side, and also everything that happened to the conspirators throughout it all. And we'll see how the community grows and how Mark Antony's loyalty flourishes throughout. So that is it for today. I will catch you all in the next one.